Hey, transportation family, how you guys doing on this wonderful day? My day is getting ready to end. I'm so excited about going home and taking me a rest and relaxing and getting myself prepared for the next day. I wanted to talk to you briefly about something, and the reason why I wanted to talk to you briefly about this is simply the fact that when we started out in transportation back in 2015, we came in this game and we did not realize that we were going to start doing a lot of out-of-state transports. My first out-of-state transport that I did was back in 2015, and the trip was successful. I mean, the trip was fine. First of all, the client called me and she wanted me to go all the way to Maryland to pick up her brother and bring him back to a little city in North Carolina called Wilson. And so we did a trip, but what I failed to realize is that I didn't have experience with charging for trips to that degree. So I undercharged myself. So what was supposed to be $1,200 to go from North Carolina to outside of DC was half of that. So I was only charging like $550, and I had my own van, and so in reality I didn't really make that much money off the trip. But hey, life is all about lessons, and you learn different things, and you pretty much go from there. That's what I'm here for, to try to deviate you guys from around those type of mistakes that I made. But the thing is, when you're doing an out-of-state transport, you've got to it's just more to just doing an out-of-state transport over state lines, because of course when you're transporting within state, it's all fine and dandy. I mean, you're transporting, but when you start to deal with overstate lines, you kind of fall into that guideline of being like a trucker or a bus company. And the reason why I say that, and this is from a person speaking from personal experiences, because I used to own a motor coach company dealing with charter buses. And I also have my CDLs, and I drive coach buses too sometimes. But in order to transport people over state lines, you must have a DOT number. And the DOT numbers are free. You can go on to it's usdot.gov, and you can apply for a free one. Now you got to be careful, because there's a lot of third parties out there that's trying to get you to pay $200-300 to do it for you and get your DOT number. And they're going to start, they imitate, and they look like the federal government website, but they actually don't. Yeah, the website is fmcsa.gov. That's what it is. I'm sorry. But yeah, so you got to have a US DOT number. And then, like I said, as you're transporting over state lines, you got to have a MC number. That's called a motor carrier number. And what a US DOT and a motor carrier does, it recognizes you in the federal motor carrier system, that you are a carrier and you're transporting people. So what happens is, if a police officer or someone runs your US DOT number up, they'll see what kind of vehicle you are and what you're rated to carry. Like, you're rated to carry, passengers and the capacity, if you have any out of services and stuff like that. But pretty much, dealing with smaller vans like minivans and stuff like that, you really don't have any problems dealing with DOT too much. You have to have it, but I talked to a lot of DOT officers. They said, like, we're not really going to enforce, vans like that carrying people. The only thing is, though, guys, it may be true, but if you're crossing state lines and something happens where you get into an accident and a lawyer gets involved, they can tear you apart because of the fact you're crossing state lines, no DOT number. And you also have to remember, a lot of times when we're taking out the insurance, the commercial part, a lot of times they ask us, okay, what's our radius? Well, and a lot of us say 50 miles, as I did it in the past. But you got to remember, if you put 50 miles and you're going somewhere far out, that could be an issue down the road. Just want to save you guys the headache of running into an issue there. But when it comes down to transporting over state lines, typically in the past, I've always liked to, lease a van for a day, because of the fact I didn't want to put any, I didn't want to put any miles on my vans, or if anything was to happen to my vans, I wouldn't have, to wait till somebody come and got me, or I wouldn't have to call another company. Typically I like to, hire, rent 2022 vans. because they have more features and everything like that. But you just have to be mindful and be careful with transporting out of state lines. Now, another thing you have to be, you have to be mindful when you're transporting people that, it's like I transported this sweet lady to Tampa, Florida from North Carolina. Oh my God, it took about 13 hours. Typically, a person is not going to feel comfortable sitting in a wheelchair that long. And if you guys remember, I did a video a while back about what they call broder chairs. And a broder chair is pretty much, a reclining wheelchair. So I like to transport in broder chairs, and that's a seldom advantage of that is because of the fact if a client, his parent or children call and say, hey, I like to get a quote about transport my mom. When you start doing the selling point of saying, hey, we offer broder chairs so that, they won't have to sit up the whole time, they'll be like, that sounds like a good idea, because you mean to tell me they can lay back, have a pillow, a blanket, everything? Yeah, it's like a little mini bed. So that's a selling advantage of that too. Another thing is when you're pricing trips long distance, you charge from the time you leave your base station, that's your home or your office. And I typically like to charge $2.50 a mile. You could charge $3 a mile, all the way till you get back to your home base. So you're transporting from you're picking up from, you're leaving your house, you're going to drop them off in, let's say, Tampa. You're charging $2.50 a mile there, and you're charging the same amount of money back. So if, let's just say it's $2,500 going there, well, guess what? It's gonna be $2,500 coming back. So that's how that works. Don't underrate your prices, or anything like that. You're gonna find out when people call you for long distance transports, they're gonna all be shopping around. So if they call you and they say, well, how much you charge to do this? It's gonna all be expensive at first if you're the first person they call. But if you're like the third person they call and you give them a price of lolly dolly, whatever, they'll, that's a lot cheaper than what I've got. And then the next thing they're gonna ask, what kind of van you're gonna be transporting in, because they wanna make sure it's reliable, making sure it's not smoking, the bumper hanging off or anything like that. So I sent them a picture of the vans that we transported with in the past. Typically, they like to be transported in minivans. That's a rear loader. Now, be mindful. They're gonna bring their little luggage there. They're gonna bring like 3 suitcases and stuff like that. Another thing that you guys have to also know, if you are a male and you're transporting a female, let me tell you this for liability purpose. Contract you, find you a CNA, female CNA. Pay her, pass the cost off to the client. Pay her, if it's a day trip or 2-day trip, give her like $300 to go there, round trip. And of course, if she has to spend a night over with you, you get her a room, you pay for it. That keeps the liability off of you, because you don't want to be in a situation where you're transporting a female and you're by yourself with them. Don't look good. I try to minimize all risk for what people, allegations. But yeah, just contract you a CNA or a nurse and just get them to ride with you. That's what I do typically. And then too, now a lot of times when you're transporting out of state, a lot of the people that I've had in the past, they have catheters in them. So the catheter is pretty much, drain their, fluids and stuff out. There has been some instances where I've transported, like the last guy I transported to Kentucky, he had to go to the bathroom like every hour. Now that made a long day. It was like a 10-hour trip turned to a 14-hour trip. And then I did a trip to Martha's Vineyard, Cape Cod, Massachusetts. 16-hour ride turned into like a 19-hour ride because they had to constantly use the bathroom. The husband had to constantly use the bathroom. And then of course I had to eat. We had to get gas. So it just made it for a longer day. But coming back, beautiful, because guess what? I could just ride, relax, and chill, and just think about, okay, getting back home and all that. Typically, guys, I'm gonna just shoot this nugget in you. If you are a transportation owner and you get an out-of-state transport, somebody gives you an out-of-state transport, or somebody calls and interested in doing it, get a deposit and make sure you have a valid credit card on file. And then the day of the trip, bill the trip prior. Don't get stuck into a whole situation of feeling sorry and you get your money afterwards because of the fact you may not get your money and you may be in a situation. Don't do it. No. So be careful with that. And, for the most part, just do a good job. It's going to be a long day. but it's all well worth it, and it makes your company look good. And it's enjoyable because you get to travel at the same time. You get to see things. You know, it's fun. You know, I stayed in some pretty nice hotels. And you know, I treated the client well, like I normally do my clients. Now, another thing I'm gonna leave with you guys: if you get a out-of-state transport, please just think about doing it yourself instead of hiring a driver, because you're gonna put more. If you can, you're gonna put more emphasis on it. You're gonna put more love into it, and you know what you need to do. You know how it's supposed to run, keeping liability off of you. You know, you just know your business. Do it yourself if you can. I do all my out-of-state transports. I stay busy. If I know 2 days from now I got an out-of-state transport, guess what? Everything else is getting canceled, because I'm not letting any of my drivers, not saying they're not any good, they're great, they're phenomenal, but I don't want to put anybody else on a trip like that. And you probably pretty much know where I'm coming from with that. So be careful with that, guys. You know, just have fun with it. Have fun with your business. Do it the way you want to. Design it. Set your business apart from, you know, anything else, and let your light shine in your community. Guys, I love you. Take care. You need anything, hit me up. I'm out.